Somebody who's been watching within close proximity is my colleague Ayanda Nyathi, who's at the Bridget Mabandla Justice College for us and joins us to give us a more comprehensive wrap of what we've heard thus far. Ayanda, very good morning to you. Quite a lot already being canvassed with the witness on the stand today. The salient point, so what stood out for me, is just how ill-prepared the juniors seem to have been. As we've heard now, indeed, they were juniors. There was no deputy director. There was no senior prosecutor, very, very junior individual at the time, but also no proper documentation to actually show that they were ready for some sort of a bail application.
In fact, here, Mfundo, we're told there wasn't even a bail statement that was prepared, even though we know that when these matters finally reach the courts, that's typically what is dealt with first. What started out as pretty innocuous questions from the commissioners of this inquiry has really built up into being a whole lot more significant, because a significant amount of time was actually spent zoning in on the organogram within IDAC. Who reports to who, under what context, what needs to be constituted before matter finally reaches the courts, and in fact, who does who makes the final call? Where does the buck stop? And we now know why the commissioner started there, because we know that once the Mukule matter actually landed up in court, it was led by a junior prosecutor, and more significantly, there was no DDPP, a deputy director of public prosecutions, overseeing the matter, despite the fact that the manual at IDAC indicates that that should be the case. Canny Maphanga is our senior reporter, who's also been listening into the testimony and joins us now live. And Canny, once again, a picture is being painted of this matter essentially being rushed to court. The question is why?
And from the evidence we see so far that the matter was not ready to go to the courts, even though evidence prior to that shows that even the Section 27 referral that gives birth to this particular case also didn't meet the constitutional, or rather the requirements, apologies, of the IDAC legislation that deals with Section 27. So effectively what Advocate Serunye has laid before the Commission is the circumstances surrounding how one of his junior investigators, or rather prosecutors, ended up leading a matter of this magnitude when he, as the DDPP, is expected to be the person that not only allocates but of course oversees a matter of this particular stature, even if it was a regular issue. But we just accept that because it's IDAC and they deal with those high-level complex corruption cases, that you're always going to be dealing with something that's quite high profile. But he explains why he was there at court, and it's quite shocking to see or learn that he only learned of the matter the day after the arrest. It was the morning that he actually got into the office that he learned of this particular matter.
And that was because there was a lot of chatter about it in the office.
Absolutely, not through the investigating director, who would have been Advocate Andrea Johnson at the time. And he actually went to court because he understood that this was a matter of serious magnitude and that this junior prosecutor was going to need support in that regard. And he says that when he arrived at court, it was quite clear that she was overwhelmed with the kind of process. He also makes it quite clear to state before the Commission that nobody had asked for the particular bail condition that was flagged by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla, that they don't go to any crime intelligence office in the country as a whole. And that particular bail condition seems to have come from the magistrates at the time, or at least that's what the testimony suggests. So there's a lot of questions surrounding the manner in which things are done, why you bring on a junior prosecutor, why the DDPP doesn't even know about the matter of this kind of size and magnitude, and why he's only brought in at the tail end. This all, of course, feeds into some of the suspicions surrounding the handling of particularly crime intelligence matters, where you're bringing in individuals that may be agreeable to what is actually taking place but won't actually question the merits of the matter or what is taking place that seemingly was pointing to alleged unlawful or improper conduct in that regard. And you bring them into this matter and you rush the matter to court to have these people charged. And of course, what then takes place is that you have a matter that's not only not ready for court, but of course gets bungled before the criminal justice system. And that is what he is leading to, with a strong statement at the end where he states that after those events, and then what follows is the infamous July media briefing by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla, he he effectively feels like he was played and he was set up. And he also says that as a junior, Hlatshwayo wouldn't have known what the politics, let's put it that way, surrounding this particular matter could have been. And he feels that she too had been set up in that regard. And we understand that after the tea adjournment, he's going to delve into some of the flags that he had raised about the merits of the matter or lack thereof prior to it being taken to court.
In fact, the words he uses is, I felt angry after I had realized what was happening, because he admits that during the July 6th briefing, he had his doubts because he didn't see anything untoward. What is also pretty interesting, Kenny, and I suppose is worth speaking about, is how there seems to be a parallel between what this witness is saying and what we heard from Trusanta Ramsamy, who also said that she felt she was brought onto this case because she feels that Advocate Andrea Johnson specifically wouldn't expect her to push back on these discrepancies.
And it's all about this pattern that continues to emerge about the handling of the crime intelligence cases, is that it appears that allegedly a conclusion had already been made and everything else leading up to it had to just get to that particular conclusion. Whether the facts existed or not, whether you were following the prescripts or not, they just needed to get there. And in order to do that, it seems that a lot of the young prosecutors or investigators rather were brought into this particular matter to just carry out the instruction. And again, the fact that Serunye didn't know about this matter once again shows another pattern of Johnson being the lead in all of these issues, which goes against her position, which tries to paint herself or create a posture that she didn't know what IDAC was doing under her watch, when in fact she really is the driving force behind these cases, or at least that's what the evidence continues to suggest. So as the witnesses continue to take the stand, more and more questions mount for Advocate Andrea Johnson, because everything that is said here goes completely against what she testified in her evidence in chief about her role and her involvement in these crime intelligence cases. She painted herself as someone who was far removed, but the evidence continues to paint a picture of someone who's actually quite involved in the matter, knows exactly what's going on, knows who has been deployed, and even to the extent that also allowed Serunye to go to the court matter once she realized probably what the stakes were in this particular matter and the kind of controversy that surrounded this matter a few months after.
Canny Maphanga, thanks very much indeed. Canny is our senior reporter here at the Bridget Mabanda Justice College. If the bail condition to bar the suspects in this case from crime intelligence officers didn't come from the defense or the state, who made that call and why? Hopefully we'll get closer to getting answers to those type of questions and many others when Advocate Serunye returns at around 11:30 today. We're told this is when he'll also get into the details of his involvement in this case before apparently raising concerns about the merits of the case itself. Mfundo?
Sounds like it will get more interesting, Ayanda. We'll leave it there for now. Thank you very much. SABC News anchor there, Ayanda Nyathi, alongside, of course, senior reporter Canny Maphanga at the Bridget Mabanda Justice College.